Hey guys, welcome back here to Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel today and checking the video out. Guys, today we're going to have a comprehensive tutorial, a little seminar, whatever you want to call it, on soft plastic colors. I have got about a dozen of my favorite colors out here, and I sort of want to go through every one of these color options and explain to you when they work, the conditions as far as the water clarity, light intensity, time of year, because it makes a big difference, guys. I am a firm believer in color and soft plastics. A lot of people say, well, Bass, Randy, they can only see gray and black and white. I don't believe that. I mean, I hear studies saying that. I know for sure that color makes a difference. And I know for sure subtle color changes make a difference. So we're gonna go over that in today's video. Of course, the train shows up right on time as I start the video here. So it'll be gone here in a couple minutes. And also, guys, we're going to be talking about 98% of the soft plastics I use are made by Zoom. So I'm going to put my Zoom link in the description of this video and my Tackle Warehouse link. If you guys like intuitive angling here and you want to support the channel and you need to get stocked up on your soft plastics, if you use and bookmark my Tackle Warehouse link in this video description to purchase your soft plastics, that's a great way to support the channel, because if you buy a bag of worms or something, the channel gets a small percentage of the profit on the commission on it. It's not a lot, but it adds up over time if a lot of people do it. So really appreciate that. And also, guys, real quick reminder, Solar Bat has extended their sale on my Signature Series glasses all the way through the end of July. They had their big 250th anniversary sale. 50% off, guys. You can get my glasses half price right now till the end of July. I'll put the Solar Bat link in the description of the video if you're interested. Use the promo code RandyB for free shipping and handling. 3 different frame colors, bunch of different lens colors, guys. Optical clarity second to none on these Solar Bats, so appreciate that. Okay, guys, a lot of people I have seen in bass fishing, there's 2 extremes. You have some people that overcomplicate bass fishing and some people oversimplify it, and there's sort of a happy medium. And one of the things that I can tell you in terms of both jig colors, any color, really any lure color, color makes a big difference. Don't get sucked in down that rabbit hole. People say, well, color's not that big of a deal, it's where you're fishing at, and I just want to keep it simple and I got a couple different colors. You're missing out if you do that. I have got a plethora of different colors, especially in soft plastics. So I've laid out a few of the ones that I use heavily that we're going to show here in the video. So let's just dig into this thing here. Okay, right off the bat, let's talk about green pumpkin. Green pumpkin is the standard color for most bass anglers. It is the most versatile color that you can have when you're bass fishing. The difference in green pumpkin, and like one of the reasons I like Zoom products, is Zoom makes a bunch of different green pumpkins with different type of flake colors in it. Purple flake, red flake, just a bunch of different flake options. And based upon the flake that is in a green pumpkin, it either lightens or darkens the bait up a little bit. And sometimes that makes a big difference. So for example, I very seldom just use a straight green pumpkin. I normally use like green pumpkin purple, green pumpkin red, green pumpkin blue, some type of a flake in there. It just gives it a little bit better look. So one piece of advice I'll give you, especially if you go on the Zoom link, because all their baits have different flake options, is try some green pumpkin with flake in it. Another thing with the green pumpkin is it definitely helps if you put some dye on the tails of the bait. I use a lot of different dye color. I use chartreuses, I use reds, blues, oranges, but I really like a little color on the tail of a green pumpkin or a watermelon. Watermelon and green pumpkin to me are very close. Watermelon, I'll use it in a little bit cleaner water. Green pumpkin, a little bit more, got a little bit more color to it. But overall, green pumpkin is my go-to color anytime that water visibility is over about 2 foot in clarity. In fact, I would say that probably 95% of my bass fishing, if you have water visibility over about 2 foot, I'm using some variation of green pumpkin or watermelon in that. So that encompasses a lot, and that's why I do use green pumpkins quite a bit. So that's the first one there. Here's a prime example of some different type of flake, guys. And this is actually here's green pumpkin purple right here. You can see some of that purple flake in there. You can see it just makes it a little bit darker. Another probably this is probably the color I'm getting ready to show you here that has accounted for more bass for me the last couple of years than any other color. And this is a watermelon candy. You can see that the various variations in the flake here. It's not just a straight translucent watermelon. Guys, this watermelon candy has caught a ton of bass for me in every different type of soft plastic. Brush hog, Z-hog, finesse worm, bigger worms. It's just a good color. I mean, watermelon candy. Sometimes I dye it, sometimes I don't. It adheres dye really good in there as far as it stands out really good. But watermelon candy, great worm anytime. Again, that water visibility is over about 2 foot. Just catch a lot of fish on it. And how I decide between a green pumpkin and a watermelon candy, that's just fishing it. You just have to try them both and sort of see what the fish want day in and day out. Now, some of the things that can change that for the green pumpkins and the watermelons, as well as everything else, it's not just water clarity. It's a combination of water clarity and light intensity, because light intensity has a great deal to do with the light penetration and how baits look in different type of water. So let's say, for example, if you've got 2 foot of clarity and it's noon and you got a bright sky with no clouds in it, you have a tremendous amount of light penetration in that situation. But if you've got 2 foot of visibility and it's raining and the wind's blowing 15 miles an hour, you've got a really big reduced visibility range. So therefore, if you have low light conditions, that's going to change the color variation within your lure. So you always have to remember that. The amount of wind that's blowing, the sunlight angle, if it's shady or sunny, all those different type of clouds. You've got cumulus clouds, you got cirrus clouds. Sometimes you can have overcast conditions and it's real thin and wispy overcast, and other times it's very, very dense. So every weather pattern has a different type of cloud that's always going to dictate different lure colors. So that's why when I tell you certain colors are going to work under certain water clarities, you have to take that knowing that your sunlight intensity is going to also affect that particular color too. So just something to remember there. Okay, another one I use quite a bit, which is I consider it another natural color, sort of like the green pumpkin and watermelon, is the 420. Now the 420 is a natural color. It's a little bit darker. I'm colorblind, guys. One thing I'll tell you, it's like I am colorblind to certain colors, like especially blues and purples and greens and browns, but I know what looks good. I know what catches fish. And this 420 is a really good color. So the 420 to me is going to be a good color when you get that water visibility that maybe is about 1.5 to 2 feet. It's not dirty water, but still got some color to it, but it's not quite as clear. You know, here's the difference between like the green pumpkin and the 420. Still a natural color, but it's sort of like 420 sort of bridges the gap between like a green pumpkin and a dark color like a black and blue or something. So definitely a color you need to have in there. Okay, another one that I use quite a bit, a lot of people don't, is a straight blue sapphire, a straight blue soft plastic. I catch a ton of fish on straight blue. Now, once you start getting into these colors we're getting into now, the darker ones, you're starting to get into a little bit less water visibility. So for me, the blue sapphire, straight blue like this, is going to be something for that water visibility about 1.5 feet. And another reason I like a blue sapphire is you can take some black dye and you can make a black and blue combination out of the black sapphire, even on some, even on some soft plastic models that don't have the black and blue option. So I can dip half of this thing in black and have a nice black and blue. But blue sapphire is really good on a swim jig. It's really good pitching and flipping, a little bit more off-colored water. Starts getting a little bit more here, the black sapphire. Black sapphire, guys, is a black with blue flake in there. You're starting to get more in a dirty water scenario with this. A black sapphire to me, I'm talking about water visibilities of about 10 to 13 inches. Now I know that sounds very, specific, but colors can be very specific. When you're talking about just an inch or 2 or 3 visibility, it can make a big difference in the color that the fish want. But you know, that is the range for black and blue sapphire here. It's a really good color for more off-colored water. It's a really good color on cloudy days. Now, once the water visibility gets really dirty, like below 8 inches, like if you got water visibility of, you know, 2, 3, 4 inches, something like that, dirty water situation, that's when I use a solid black. Solid black is one of my favorite colors of soft plastics. I catch a lot of quality fish on it in off-colored water. So to me, the times that I use solid black, a lot of times are if the water temperature is dirty and it's a little bit warmer. I catch them on that. And also black is the best night color. If you guys fish at night, the black worm, black soft plastic is going to be good. I say it's for dirty conditions, like 4, 5, 6 inches of visibility. If you've got maybe a foot of visibility and it's windy and cloudy and rainy, black can also work good. Now, speaking of cloudy and rainy stuff like that, another one of my favorite colors is a black with a chartreuse tail. I love a black chartreuse tail in soft plastics, and I also love a black and chartreuse jig. Anytime it is raining, this is what I got tied on. Even if that water visibility is 2 or 3 foot, there's something about a black with a chartreuse tail that bass love it in a rainy condition. Also, the black with the chartreuse tail allows this worm to work a little bit better in a little bit cleaner water than a straight black does. So in other words, if I'm using straight black and water visibility that's 4 or 5 or 6 inches, you know, in clarity like that, if I've got a chartreuse tail on it, it sort of like lightens it up a little bit, and I'll catch them in, you know, maybe 12 inches of visibility with the black and chartreuse tail. Red bug is another one of my favorites. Red bug and June bug here. I didn't bring a June bug out here, but red bug and June bug, if you can see this is another really good color that bridges the gap between like a black and a green pumpkin. So in other words, if I use green pumpkin in 2 foot of visibility and I'm using the black sapphire in a foot of visibility, sometimes a June bug or a red bug can work good in 1.5 feet of visibility. So a little bit color to the water, yet not real dirty. Really, really good color. And then finally, guys, you got your floating worm colors. Floating worm colors, it's a completely different animal. You catch bass on bright colored floating worms in any water clarity. I have ripped the bass in water visibility of 6 foot clarity, and I've ripped the bass in water visibility of 6 inch clarity with it, because it's a sight lure. And these baits are fished high in the water column, so they're not on the bottom like these other soft plastics. But one of the things I'll tell you about the bright colored floating worms that Zoom makes, they work good in any water clarity that you have. It just depends on the mood and the personality of the fish. So anyway, guys, that's just some of the colors I use, some of my favorite colors there. Keep an open mind. That's one of the things about bass fishing in general, is when you're talking about colors and lures, you can't get too set in what you like to use, because I have been proven wrong several times by my co-anglers where they're catching fish on a certain color of bait that I never would have tried. So stay open-minded. You need to experiment a little bit. Don't get locked in, because there are things that you can do to sort of point yourself in the right direction with color based upon water clarity and light intensity. Ultimately, though, you have to let the fish tell you what they want. So here's the best way to do it. I'll leave this in the end of the video here. If you start with a certain color based upon the criteria I just told you there, and let's say that you get into an area and you're catching a few fish. You're not ripping them, but maybe you're getting a bite or two. Once you know there's fish there with a certain color, that is when you want to experiment with a different color to see if you can catch even more fish, because you know they're there. So let's say, for example, I'm fishing a shaky head on points with a green pumpkin worm, and I catch, you know, two fish or something on one point. That is when I pick up some different colors. I'll pick up some watermelon variations, some different type of flake variations, to really hone in on specifically the color they want. So anyway, guys, hope it helps you out. We'll talk later.